A salt is an essential nutrient. It's critically necessary to our survival. Without enough sodium in the diet, we would die. In fact, it's so precious and it's so rare in nature that our bodies are designed to detect it at very small quantities and to hold on to it and to preserve and conserve it in our bodies. And that worked well for 1 billion years, where we learned to eat certain foods because we were attracted to them because they had a natural sodium concentration. The problem came as we learned to process salt and concentrate it. We began to add it to processed foods particularly, and because the natural inclination was to enjoy and preserve and relish salt, we got into trouble. And of course that leads to difficulties today. Processed food, people realize that they can take just about any food, put enough salt on it, and people will eat it. In order to make good foods taste good without adding salt, well, you have to start with foods that taste good. And you have to minimize the processing so that you retain the natural flavors. Now, because we do need salt, the question is, of course, where do you get it from if you don't add it to your foods? And it turns out that whole natural foods contain sodium in varying degrees. And if you add up how much sodium is in a diet of whole natural foods, of fruits and vegetables like we're advocating, there's about 1,000 to 1,200 milligrams of sodium, which is what the body actually needs and what most people thrive on. As soon as you begin adding processed salt to the diet, complications ensue, and depending on the individual, health compromising begins. About at least 1/3 of the population particularly have difficulty eliminating excess of salt from the kidneys, and these are the people that become vulnerable to high blood pressure when they eat processed food diets. And also the people that respond very well to low sodium intakes. So just by getting rid of all this added processed sodium from the diet, many people are able to dramatically improve their health. One of the things that excess salt does, besides raise blood pressure, is it allows people to hold on to excess fluid, so they get a lot of bloating and swelling, the edema, the non-healing problems that happen sometimes with wounds, the congestion, and ultimately things like congestive heart failure and other problems. Not to mention the fact that salt is a powerful stimulant. If, for example, you sit and eat your fill of rice or your fill of potatoes or other whole natural foods, you eat a certain amount and then you feel full. If you spice and salt that food up real heavily, sometimes people will find they'll eat more food before they feel satiated. As a consequence, it may complicate the brain and satiety's mechanisms of achieving normal food balance. And so I believe that it also contributes, at least for some people, to overeating and all the things that come from that, from obesity to the disease of dietary excess.